going on? Everybody, welcome back to another Thursday. For once, I'm actually 1 minute late. I'm normally early. Oh my goodness, I was literally editing videos up until 5 minutes ago. And then I come upstairs, fire up the computer, and streaming software is just being a complete... Listen. Yeah, exactly, Daddy. Who we got in here? Andrew, as usual. Thank you, my brother. Love you, man. 01M6. Chris Schmidt, 780. Brad WK. Brad, good to see you, man. Kamar. David Jordan. My man. How's everything going, David? Red 94. Let's go. Okay. Let's just dive into it. El Chevy Flores is here. Editing videos. Honestly, I've been working on the wiring video. It sucks. I will give anybody just hella props if you can watch the entire video and not get bored. Listen, if you're having a hard time falling asleep whenever I post this video this weekend or whatever, just put it on in the background. Let my calm, dulcet tones lull you to sleep. WS6, what's going on? Been a while. Got some old faces showing up. I love it. Yeah, I don't even know how long it is. Literally, I was just like, let's finish this and just go bow. Saw a WS6TA with a CV roof antenna. Let's go. That dude is living life. Aussie, we got another Aussie in here. It's safe to say my favorite continent at this point in time. Australia. Well, Stefan, I'm glad to see you're still alive. Had the tops out. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you listen to it while you're sleeping, sure, a little bit of osmosis may sink in there. David, love to hear it, man. Love to hear it. I just want to figure out that idle issue. Chris, dude, I'm tuning a 2015 F-150 with a return style fuel system and 1,000cc injectors, but customer took Pro Charger off, flashed to stock with Ford tool. Put the injector data in there again, but now won't run. Chris. Ouch. You got so much going on. So, he flashed it completely back to stock. The only thing, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that's different is the 1,000cc injectors. Hey, Jeff, what's going on? Man, you're hitting me with a Ford question right off the bat. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah, WS6 is the man. Y'all watch out for him if he comes rolling through your neighborhood. He's a crazy guy. Let's see, what we got? What year was this? 2015. Oh, of course. I don't have an interface up here. I can't even open up a 2015 Ford. Oh, thing was tuned by a different tuner that break the computer, and that's why I put stock. Not me, I have an alibi. Oh, Ford, what are you doing to me? Chris, I may have to follow up with you on that one if you don't get it figured out, because I don't have a way of looking at a Ford tune right now. That, and I am so sleep deprived and tired. I probably couldn't solve that problem anyways. Yeah, does it crank? Good, great first question, Mr. Schmidt. Schmidt is Johnny on the spot. I'm assuming it cranks. If you used a Ford tool to write the program in, it should be written to the VIN number. Right? I'd be afraid of washing down the cylinders. So you reflashed it, or you put a new computer in, flashed the factory OS in with the Ford tool, then went in with HP tuners, Updated the injector data is, but the question is there no Ford people in here? There's got to be a Ford person in here somewhere. When updating Ford injector data, do you have to do a mass table at the same time? Is there a flow in a mass table? Is it one of those that has the inverse table? I'm asking. Yeah, it does have mass data. So that's the one thing to be aware of, Chris, is that you have two tables that have to be adjusted, and one of them should be inverse of the other one. Yeah, SD. That's typical. Only a few Fords are going to have a mass airflow sensor. Most of them are just speed density tuned straight up. But as I said, yeah. Here it says specifically, newer Ford ECUs rely heavily on fuel mass modeling, just not flow. So if you just plugged in the flow values, it's not going to work. Do you know what injectors they were? Like what 1000cc injectors they were? Let's look up. I bet Injector Dynamics has data for Fords, so we can just look at the Fords. Let's go to the 1050s. Will probably be about as close as we're going to get. Plug and play data. No. Here we go. Ford injector characterization. ID 1000 Ford characteristics. Let's drop that over to the whiteboard, which probably is not going to have a mic. Can you guys still hear me? Okay. Why is this showing the wrong screen? No. Let's put the right screen on here. Let's just do it this way. How's this? How's this? Boop. Oh, no, you can't see me. However, will you watch the live stream? There I am. Okay. So, return style system. What we got? What we got? Base fuel pressure. So they're FICs. Let's look at FICs. FIC injectors. Look at their data. Injector data. What is this crap? Find the data code. Okay, wrong one. Wrong one. Typical FIC. There's FICA, FICB, bah, bah, bah. No, I just want to open the Excel spreadsheet. Let's go. Phoenix, continue. I don't remember, but I have memory issues. Remember, you'll figure this out. That is this the right desktop? Nope, that's this desktop. So maybe it's desktop 2. There we go. There we go. So let's put this down here. So this is the data that you were working with, Chris, correct? Now it does have a 2018 Mustang GT intake manifold as well. I'm using Dodge, not Ford tuner. I'm only doing this because my cousin's truck trying to help him out. I've been working little things here and there. I believe it to be minor injectors. Hey, you're just in time. Snake Eaters are junk, so I'm waiting for my OEM ones. I haven't responded back to you because I feel annoying with no real progress moving forward. No, it's not a big ordeal. Yeah, exactly. You can see the cogs turning over. So you have verified base fuel pressure, all that. I mean, I wish I could open a tune file. I'm surprised this actually... I mean, if you put all this in, it should work. In theory. You got Chris, you run a wideband on this thing? In closed loop? You got closed loop? Give me a little more details. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can see the wires back here. That's what this is. All the way down to my controller. I actually remembered to charge myself this week. Low mile voodoo engine, man. Whew. That's the one I want. So, while we wait on the chat to update, catch up, all that stuff, where we at? Wiring is probably 90% done. The last 10% of the wiring is always the hardest part. I tore the transmission apart last week to do the TCU replacement bypass, TCU bypass, and upon bypassing it, I figured out the PCB board bypass did not work well for me, and had to go the old way and hack out the TCU, TCM, whatever, and just wire past it. Stupidly, and it does have factory O2. When I put the factory injected data in, it will start, but sounds cam. My cousin said he put a Mustang engine in it, but said it's the same as a truck. I don't know enough about Fords to say if that's correct. I would think that the heads would be different. There's got to be a couple things different on the mod motors between the truck and the Mustang. Does the F-150 have the same motor as a Mustang Coyote? They're not exactly the same engine, while they share the same basic architecture. Ford has made key differences in tuning components and intended use. He's got the variable intake, so that's not there. Camshaft is different. Compression ratio is lower on a Coyote, F-150 Coyote, than a Mustang Coyote. That's about it, though, from the looks of it. Can swap them, but also often requires changing accessories, intake, exhaust, recalibrating the ECU. Of course it does. Change the cams over. Are you sure that he got the cams timed properly? Yeah, Commander Shepard's backing it up, saying they are different. Yeah, when it goes wide open throttle, it cuts injector pulse. Just wanted to see what the O2s were doing. They're both reading low voltage as they should. So I'm inclined to believe them. My driver's side is really lean past your stupid Rich. Pressure test your driver's side exhaust bank. Make sure you don't have a leak somewhere, Phoenix. Firing order is different? Seriously? That's huge. That's huge. That's probably why it sounds like it's cammed. Buddy of mine is LS swapping a 66 Chevelle. Any recommendations as far as what, Danny? Take out a second mortgage is probably my first recommendation. Only electronically from what I've heard. Now, be aware, that's not always true, Chris. And so sometimes you have to repin the ECU outputs because the drivers, regardless of what the firing order says in the software, the outputs are still not going to line up. And I know this because that's the way GM is. GM on some of them, you can go in and change the firing order on. It will not change the firing order. That is physically wired in the ECM. And the reason why is because firing order acts as an interrupt. So if you work in the computer world, you know that high priority situations like Spark have an interrupt. And so a lot of times, because all the other stuff may be processing in the background, but we're hitting Spark so many times that it interrupts and goes to the Spark triggers. And that's hard coded. Yeah. So my guess is you've got a firing order problem. But that being said, you should be able to depin the injector or the coil signals. Might have to do the injectors too, though, to be honest with you. Might have to depin those and rewire them based on the firing order change. Oh, okay, Phoenix. Well, on Ford, Ford Bank 1's passenger side, isn't it? Yeah, thanks, Commander Shepard. Yeah, I was about to say, Ford is bass backwards. Typical Ford stuff. Oh my God. I didn't know I was logging in for a Ford chat tonight. Where's the in stream button? Let's just go ahead and shut this down now. Well, I mean, that's the big question, is what ECM he's going with. I am legally obligated to suggest he goes with the HP Tuner's core, but our factory, I mean, does he have the factory harness and all that stuff? The firing order has been physically redone. So it would be the same as a truck motor. Might double check the injector order also. It's is it port injected or DI? 2015s. Commander Shepard, help me out. 2015, is that going to be port or DI? Yeah, I'd go factory ECM if he wants to do the. Okay, if it's port injection, it shouldn't be that big of a. It should at least run an idle on port injection with, as long as the injector data is fairly close. It'll still fire up an idle. It'll be sucking fuel off the backside of the valves if the injection is out of order. Getting off idle, though, it will start to stumble and have issues, and you'll have transient issues and all kinds of stuff. DI, yeah, it won't run. You'll have all kinds of backfires in the exhaust and stuff. Yeah, I would go factory ECM. You know, if he's not doing anything crazy, if he's not, you know, boosting the hell out of it, stuff like that, Danny, stick to factory. Cheaper, easier. You know, get a cut down harness or a trimmed down harness. Save the money on the standalone. Go with a cleaned up harness. And go with a factory ECM. You're never going to, thanks Shane, you're never going to convince me that there's a standalone out there better than a factory ECU. And the reason is, I don't care who you are, Motec, Haltech, they haven't put a fraction of the money into their ECUs that GM, Ford, and Dodge has. Now, granted, there's some picadillos that come around based off of that, but the drivability, yeah, dude, I honestly, how much do you like this cousin? Because it sounds like a basket case. Do you have, Chris, do you have this vehicle in your possession, or are you trying to remotely do this? Because if you had it in your possession, it'd be one thing. If you could do the troubleshooting yourself, like, I'd say, hey, because I'm the kind of guy that likes to figure out problems. Oh, you're sitting in it right now. Yeah, I mean, but I don't even know where to begin to start troubleshooting. Ah, nice, David. And if that's the case, I know what it is right off the bat. We just need to adjust your cranking fueling. Yeah, I am inclined to agree that you need to walk through and double check firing order. And by double checking, I mean you need to ohm out the pins from the coil connector back to the ECU. Look up the ECU part number, figure out exactly what the ECU came out of or what it's for, hopefully for an F-150. Find the ECU wiring diagram and verify the outputs from the pins. Okay. Is there a very steep hill right there to roll it off of? Does it run under its own power, or do you need a trailer with a winch? No, yeah, we've all been there. We've all been there. I mean, I'm getting ready to be there myself. You know, it's funny that you're talking about that, Commander Shepard. I was talking to Brandon Lieb over at Elite just the other day, and one of them specifically was, we talked a little bit briefly about some of the funky stuff with Ford, but he enlightened me to some interesting Dodge stuff with the Dodges that run on neural network that makes absolutely no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. So whenever you're dealing with neural network, it's false. It doesn't exist. The tables you edit don't exist. They're all from basically like virtual VE, and it creates multiple tables based on cam position. And it's not like the Fords where you have separate tables. You know, they all go back to coefficients. But you've got cam positions that physically the cam cannot achieve. Dodge, unlike the rest, uses the exhaust lobe as the control cam, the control center line for the cam. And so the intake lobe is going to be tied to the exhaust lobe. So you have intake lobe tables that you can't hit unless the exhaust is at this point. So think of, normally you would have 7 tables, if that makes sense. 7 tables based on your exhaust point, and then you would find the intake table that matches that exhaust position. Well, come to find out, the other 6 tables on the exhaust position still affect that table. Yeah, that's a good point. I hear you, Phoenix. That's always the hard part. What did I miss? I saw something. Hey, I looked at my VVE table the other day. It looks like an EKG is someone having a heart attack, but the car runs great. Danny, in your case, that would not surprise me. It is more tedious. It is more, and it's the thing about it is especially in the Dodge world, like I'd say probably the majority of guys are out there are still doing it wrong, and it's by adjusting for fuel mass, and it works. It's a Band-Aid tune, and the guys that are doing it right are not talking about these things, and that's where I need to get this Camaro out of the way, get it running, and so I can start working on the Hellcat and really expose some more Dodge information. There's so much out there that's bad information. And it's kind of the same way on the Ford. The Ford and the Dodge guys get the short end of the stick. The information's not shared. Yeah, exactly. They gatekeep all that stuff. It's I gotta spend more time getting that information out there and getting good information out there. But I'm glad to see that Brandon's been really diving into those platforms more to get a better handle on it and is fighting the struggle to figure out what's actually going on. Because it's going to be stuff that I run into whenever I start really dialing in on the Hellcat, which I thought was, going to be a temporary car, but I just love that car too much to get rid of it. Tuner for wide open throttle. Still spins the tires in fourth gear at 50. Just saying the car runs great. I really need to adjust it. Like, it depends on how EKG it is. It's theoretically probably could use some cleaning up. Might be a zone issue. Probably a zone issue, causing it to look like an EKG. Zones are the hardest thing. Really, you just need to create a rezoning tool, don't we? Maybe I'll work on that. Maybe that's the next tool. I'm in the middle of working on a closed loop narrowband O2 program that you can take a log, plug into it, and it'll look at it, and it'll tell you what adjustments you need to make to your narrowbands. Because headers, stuff like that really jack that stuff up. So I've been trying to find kind of a shortcut. I've got Gen 3 worked out. I've been working on Gen 4 this week. My hopes were to release this program as a Gen 3, Gen 4 with a drop down. Gen 3 works great, at least on the logs that I've tested it with. Gen 4 has just been fighting me. So I may release the Gen 3 version and start from scratch. There's ICT car guy dripping in sarcasm. Start from scratch. Unfortunately, I don't have a distribution copy that I could run, and I don't have Python on here. Danny Carwell never takes it easy. That dude is Ricky Bobby in it around every corner. I promise you. So, but on the docket for this weekend, start installing the transmission in the car. If you're a member, you may have seen, did I give members access to the Turbo Lambic video? Has anybody even watched it? I haven't even looked at the numbers. It's just all the stuff that I bought. Oh yeah, you got a map sensor scaling issue then. That will 1000% give you issues. Oh yeah, 26 people have watched it. I even got a comment on it. Who commented? Oh, TJ, of course. I'll give him a thumbs up and the hearts. Yep, so it is time to... hell, let's just make this public. We'll just make this public. And there we go. Andrew George, are you talking about me? Garbage in, garbage out? My diet? Yeah. I was really hoping to do some 3D scanning this weekend also, but I don't know if I'm going to find some time. I want to put a boost gauge in the Colorado to see how much boost it's running. I mean, granted, I could hook my scanner up to it and, and read it that way. Yeah, exactly. If you think you're good, that means you're halfway done, right? You know what's funny, Chris, is I fought that same issue a couple months ago on a Global B Pro Charge setup. Had the map sensor completely scaled wrong. I'm like, why is this thing just struggling? And I looked at it and I was like, why is this thing idling at 90 kPa? Or trying to idle at 90 kPa. Okay. It's 8:31, guys. Is anybody got anything else? Can we call this a short one? What do you think? Oh, Schmidt's on it. He's like, I'm ready for a beer. Yeah, David, send me a picture. I'm going to do the side window vent, pop it out, scan it in, and then put a gauge mount on it. Man, I wish I was off tomorrow. I'm off Monday. I hope everybody's off Monday. I know some of you won't be, unfortunately. But then 3D print it and go from there. So I'm thinking about trying to do a 12-hour live. Okay, we'll see you, Andrew. Thank you, brother. 12-hour live. I tell you what, if you're a member, which a lot of you guys are, let me see if I've got any memberships to give away while we're here. Where are the memberships? Have they... Okay, no? Can I not give away memberships anymore? What's going on? Apparently I can't. Saturday I may fire it up and just do a members stream while I'm working in the garage. It'll be kind of here, back and forth. Like, I'll be working a lot of the time. If you guys want to drop in. I did it... Oh, well, whenever we was pulling the motor out of the Camaro. Back, where was that? Oh, I guess it'd be under the Lives tab. Yeah, I streamed for a couple hours back on March. And it's members only because I've got music playing in the background. And can make it a GM segment next time. I would always... love to make it a GM segment. I feel bad. Guys are rolling in here with Ford and Dodge questions and I can't answer them, man. But I'm not going to BS you and sit here and act like I know the answers to everything. I do not. But I always am anxious to learn the next thing. That's what drives us, right? We got to learn. Show me somebody who claims to know everything about tuning, and I will show you the man named Greg Banish. I shouldn't say that stuff. Core ECU 3-bar map stuck at 101 kPa idling, part throttle, full throttle. Switched to a 2-bar, it works fine now. Weird, it was fine on stock ECU. That's very interesting. Kamar, did you try rescaling it in the core to double check that the... I mean, obviously you did. What am I talking about? That's weird. Almost sounds like the map sensor was not labeled correctly. I'm looking at... Oh, you know what it is? And it's because this uses slope and offset. So, that's a big change. I'm not sure why they did it this way. But, so, I'm looking at a 1-bar setup. Here, I'll just swap it over here. We'll just look at it. This will be our last thing for the night. So, this is the default drive-by-wire 58X LS3 injector setup. And you'll notice on manifold pressure that we're using slope and offset. And so this slope is per volt. So and then the offset offsets the voltage, if that makes sense. So for 0, it would be 0 should be generally about 1 volt, but it's not going to be directly 0 at 1 volt. It's going to be negative 0.25 off, and this shifts the offset. And then the slope is per volt. So you're looking at this value being how many kPa there is per volt. It's going to be 1 to 5 volts. So at 2 volts, you'll be at 2563. 3 volts, you'll be at 50, 475, 5, 100 kPa. Does that make sense, Kamar? How the scaling works on this stuff? So we have to set it up. We don't have the linear and offset that we have in a factory tune. Yeah, no problem, David. Okay, there you go. Glad. Hey, man. This is a victory. Thanks 780 for showing in. I answered Kamar's question. This has been a total victory stream. This one is a win. Okay, you guys know the drill. I'm going to get out of here. ABT, always be tuning.